Who knows where a dream might lead? One wish may be all you need. Be our guest, put our service to the test. Can you feel it in the air? Disney magic.
And now, Disney Cruise Line invites you to come with us as we remember the magic.
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your passport to the Disney parks. I am your host and your friend, Lou Mangello, and this is show number 786. And together, I not only want to help you have the best possible Disney vacation experience when you go to the parks, or in this week's case, Disney Cruise Line, but I also want to bring you a little bit of Disney magic here on the podcast, my weekly live video every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern at WDWRadioLive.com. You can watch on Facebook or YouTube, blog, events, weekly newsletter, and more. Please join the community and find everything at WDWRadio.com. And I am finally back from our WDW Radio Group Adventures by Disney, and then right into our trip to Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. And this week, I invite you to join me as we set sail to Disney Cruise Line's newest destination. I had the incredible opportunity to be among the very first to visit this magical new port on the island of Eleuthera, and I'm excited to share all the details with you this week, including everything and anything you need to know when you visit. Plus, we're going to share some insider tips to make the most of your trip to Lookout Cay. Then stay tuned for our Disney Trivia Question of the Week, where you can enter to win a Lookout Cay prize package and more updates at the end of the show. Please connect with me, talk with me on social. I am at Lou Mangello on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And don't forget to go to WDWRadio.com, subscribe to our free weekly newsletter, and get a copy of my free 102 Things to Do at Walt Disney World at Least Once book. Of course, if you like what you hear, please share the show and tell a friend. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. After years of planning for the island, not this podcast, we are setting sail to Disney Cruise Line's newest enchanting destination, Disney Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. I was very fortunate to have been invited by Disney Cruise Line to be among the very first to visit this new port on the island of Eleuthera, and I cannot wait to share all of the details and tips with you. So I want you to close your eyes, unless you're driving or walking. Wait, or if you're at the gym, because that would be weird. All right, don't close your eyes. Forget what I just said. But I want you to just imagine the pristine beaches, the vibrant Bahamian culture, and the touch of Disney magic all coming together in a single, beautiful, dare I say, breathtaking location. From the architectural marvels to the local artwork and water activities, and of course the island cuisine, we have everything you need to know about Disney Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point, and we're going to share some insider tips to make the most out of your visit. And when I say we, as I said, I was among the first to be on the island, along with a couple of friends. So joining me today, ladies first, is Becky Menken from Mouse Fan Travel.
Long time no talk to, Lou.
It's been a long couple of hours. And Jeremiah Good from laughingplace.com.
It's been a week, Lou, I believe. No, less than a week for us, yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were saying it's been a week since we've talked, or Lou, it's been a week. It's just, it has been
both.
Yeah. It has been a wonderful week. And before we even start, let's sort of clear the decks with this. We were invited by Disney Cruise Line for a media and travel agent industry preview sailing and sneak peek. Preview sailing and sneak peek. And what I want to clarify by saying that is we were literally the first ship to dock at Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. So I think what we saw is, I already know, is different than what the cruise after us saw and what is going to be different a week, 2 weeks, a month from now. Changes while we were there were already being made on the fly, pun intended. We'll get to that. And I'm already heard from guests on the Fantasy who came right after us that some of the things that we noticed have already been fixed. So I want to, at least from my personal perspective, I'm going to qualify in advance my discussion about this because we were not just the first guests to see it, but the crew. This was the very first time that the crew of the Magic had seen the island. They basically had a 2-hour window to disembark the ship, get all the provisions, figure out where they needed to go, set everything up for us as guests when we arrived. So I didn't expect, nor were things completely perfect. So I am giving grace, and lots of it. I got a lot of the questions. Well, then why would they invite media for the cruise if they weren't ready? Well, I mean, they were ready. And I think they invite media and travel agents because if they didn't, so many people from the media would have booked themselves anyway. All right. Cause I think a lot of people want to be the first. Jeremiah is waving his hands. And look, for me, it is an absolute privilege and gift to be able to be there and to say we were the first. But I like whether I'm reviewing a restaurant, I would rather give them time to ramp things up. It's why I don't do restaurant reviews the day, week, or sometimes even the month that they open. I've owned a restaurant with my family, so I know and understand. So I wanted to just sort of give a little bit of context to the conversation as we go in, because again, what we see on day one, we already know was different when we came back on day two. To my esteemed colleagues and guests, do you sort of concur with the way I look at things or approach it?
Go ahead. It's important to see it, but to put it in context, like you stated, I really kind of felt sorry for the crew. We arrived in about, what was it? They had about an hour and a half to get off the ship, to see the areas for the first time, to set up for the first time and kind of get ready. Clearly it's going to take them a few stops and a few weeks to get everything in place and running smoothly. So while it was a privilege to be there at the very beginning, I would like to go back and say a month and take a look again.
So for me, Laughing Place did book on this cruise well before the media. So we've been looking at it for a while as the 3-day cruise, and they called out on the website, everything. This is a preview of it, not the original. So, just like when we did the Wish for the first time, I always go in, just like you said, Lou, you have to go in there with, a little bit of, you're not looking at the finished product. You're kind of seeing the before. But honestly, I didn't see a lot wrong with the island. I know that there are some things that were changing as we were there. I mean, we'll go deeper into my thoughts on everything, but there were only probably two things that Disney could actually even change that would have happened in the next few days. So we'll see.
Yeah. And so but before we get into the discussion of the island and our experiences there and maybe some tips for people who are looking to go and how they can maximize their time there, I want to give a little bit of history and context to how we got here, not like metaphorically how we got here, because originally when Disney was looking for a second port, sort of a second private island or second port, they were originally looking to purchase Egg Island in Eleuthera back in 2016, which if you look at the Bahamas is really sort of the far north side of the island, where Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point is the far south end. And due to some environmental and reef and ecological concerns, they ended up deciding on Lighthouse Point about 3 years later in 2019. And it's estimated that Disney spent between $250 and $400 million of an investment to purchase 700 acres, 190 of which were donated for a national park and 510 that can and will be developed for the resort. And it was probably around March of 2019 during the shareholders meeting that they announced their plan to build this second private island destination. And if you go back and you look and listen to the discussion literally from day one, right? As we as guests start to first hear about this, the focus was primarily on sustainability as well as celebrating the Bahamian culture. And it was a couple of years later, I think at Destination D23, that we learned that it was going to be called Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. Again, really making sure we understand that this is about integrating Bahamian themes and authentic culture above any Disney IP, right? This is meant to be an immersive experience, but it really is about the natural beauty of Eleuthera with what Disney is able to bring in terms of signature entertainment and hospitality. And there was a pledge really from the very beginning to commit to environmental conservation and collaborate with local communities and artists, and really sort of promised the Bahamian government that much of the Lookout Cay area is going to remain and needs to remain undeveloped because they needed to adhere to the strict environmental regulations and directives. But one of the things that I love, and we've heard talk about both before we got on board and certainly as we were going through our time there, was not just this emphasis on sustainability and eco-friendly initiatives, but it's ensuring that the island's aesthetic is both authentic and respectful and prideful of the local heritage. And we see a lot of design inspiration from the culture, Bahamian art with a lot of local artists, the murals and sculptures, even some of the amenities and materials and construction techniques to reduce the carbon footprint and bring in not just what we see, but even what we hear in terms of Bahamian music in the background. But one of the things I thought was fascinating about this, and we were there literally on day one, but I'm already thinking about what the future is. Disney has developed less than 16% of this 900-acre site, leaving most of it in its natural state. We see things like elevated walkways and the open trestle pier to really focus, again, like they said from the beginning, on conservation, local wildlife habitats and reducing waste, etc. And I think one of the things that was really important of that I noticed and sort of heard, I sort of heard in the context of the discussions that we had with so many people, that it was really important to not just negatively impact, but really try and do things to benefit the local economy and environment. And I'm sure you saw that in the conversations that you had, as well as picking up on the edutainment that we sort of got from the moment you stepped foot on Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point.
My first impressions was really interesting because of the environmental. I really do respect how they've taken such pride and care in reflecting the Bahamian culture and then taking care of the environment. Like, I know that we'll talk about this, but the boardwalks alone just being risen up over the beach area so that you're not impacting the beach and the whole area, that when you're running around, and they're not, they didn't put in concrete paths to, hopefully uphold the environmental concerns that they have about the area. What I really did love, though, more than I've seen in any of the other competitors, which for me is one of the big pieces, because I am comparing this private island to others in the arena right now for the family vacation dollar, is they really do have quite a focus on the Bahamian culture. And I loved that. I loved it in the entertainment. I loved it in the arts and crafts that are available to you. I loved it in the activities that they have. It really did help it stand apart from others because of that focus.
Yeah, I could not agree more with you, Becky. I walked into an event that Lou and I attended about a month ago, more about the island, because the only thing we'd really known about the island was the original announcement from Joe Rohde at a D23 Expo, and then some concept art, which the concept art for me never sold anything. Like, I was actually very much not for the island. Castaway Cay is my all-time favorite. Even with the new island, Castaway will still be my favorite just because it was my first, and I love the snorkeling, but then the Bohemian culture that inspired all the architecture that I learned more about. The island itself, the history, the nature trail, there was so much to do. I can't wait to go back when I don't have to run the island back and forth like Lou and I did, capturing every bit of content possible. I definitely am excited to go back to the island. I'm not on the poo-poo end as a lot of people have been and are coming off of the first couple of cruises, where we've seen it many times of the first couple of cruises are never what to be expected, and they fix on the fly, as Lou was saying.
Well, and I think we need to be very clear too. This is not the same as Castaway by design. I think, that's the first thing is if you've cruised on Disney Cruise Line before, you can't help but sort of compare it to Castaway. Well, as I was running through, right, we tried to capture a lot in a very short period of time. But for me, Lookout Cay feels more like a resort or a retreat. It's not meant to be a water park. It's not meant to be what Castaway is. It's not meant to be what some of the other cruise line have as destinations. I sort of felt like Lookout Cay was more akin to Aulani. It was authentically Bahamian, but with that little bit of sprinkle of Disney on top. And to be clear too, unlike Castaway, this is not a private island. Disney actually shares this island, one, with the community, right? There is a community of people that live on Lighthouse Point, but it's not visible, but it also shares the destination. Princess Cruise Line, again, which is very different, has a port on here. You can't see it from where the ship docks, but it is sort of, just around the river bend. So Disney has to operate this not just alongside to a certain degree, another cruise line that's here, but more importantly, operate alongside the local communities that actually live here. That being said, let's talk about the island itself. Let's talk about arriving on the island. And I think let's talk about the half-mile long elephant in the room, right? Because this is, when we arrived, the only thing everybody seemed to be talking about. And I get it. I completely understand why. And obviously we're talking about the fact that the ship does dock off the island about a half mile or so, which around the other bend, Princess Cruise actually has to tender, meaning the ship sort of anchors off the shore, and then small boats go back and forth between the cruise ship and the dock. Not always the best part of the time when you are going to an island, but Disney did build a walkway. I'm sure we've all seen photos and videos that, look, it's long, but it is not, I think some of the things that we see are these videos where people have been shooting it at 0.5 using the 0.5 lens on their phone. So it looks like this incredibly long walk. And then we heard stories of, people walking off the ship and looking at it and turning around and just going, I can't do it, and getting back on board, which I'm the internet sometimes does have a tendency to exaggerate just a little bit. I don't think anybody walks into the Magic Kingdom and goes, whew, man, that Space Mountain's really far away. I think I'm just going to go back home. I don't think that necessarily happened here. What I do think, and this is what we were alluding to earlier, is Disney realized very quickly as guests were coming off that it is a long walk, and that maybe, and I will expect, and I know that there already have been sort of improvements and additions made, right? There's been water stops, cold towels along the way. I would not be surprised if they did not add some benches and maybe some shade along the way. There are golf carts that were at the dock for those guests who had booked accessible rooms and prearranged transport from the ship to sort of the embarkation area. We already saw that day that by the end of the day, they were not necessarily requiring you to be in one of those rooms. I think they're going to make golf carts. They have to make golf carts more available to guests that feel that they want or need it. My suggestion is I think they can and will and should. I think they need to add signage along the way too, not just pointing out things that you see, but making people understand why this is here, why this raised, narrow bridge, which is not going to ever be able to accommodate trams because of its size, but it's here to protect the coral reefs. And I think if you see that and you read that, you will hopefully, and other guests will hopefully have a little bit more of an understanding as to why that walkway is there. Becky and Jeremiah, give me your thoughts on the bridge from the ship to the embarkation area.
I have a lot of thoughts about this. And while, yes, the internet does sometimes have a tendency to light itself on fire over things, this one for me was pretty accurate. It's a long walk. It's a half a mile. It's about 15-minute walk from the ship to the tram station, which of course then the tram station takes you on to the main part of the island. My first question when I looked at it was, why didn't they anticipate the heat issue? Why didn't they already think about putting shade on that walkway? Because while in the morning and it's kind of when there's breezes going, it's not that bad. You're still in the direct heat. And for those of us who aren't used to heat, it's kind of a difficult walk to make. If you have any mobility issues, then it's even going to be even longer because 15 minutes at a good average clip was a long walk. The harder part was, of course, coming back when you've been out in the sun running around on the beach all day. And then you imagine the family with the 2.5 kids and a stroller and trying to get everybody back in the searing heat. That's going to be a little bit different. I was happy to hear that they've already added a water stop. That was my suggestion too, is put a couple of benches halfway just so that people could take a break, add some water. I love the addition of the cold towels. But it would be wonderful if they could have already anticipated needing some shaded areas along that route, that walk. The golf cart idea is great, but when we were there, and I know I'm with you here, it's got to change. They were telling us that if you were in one of the accessible rooms, they could help you prearrange it. However, if you weren't, you would have to just get off the ship and ask if a golf cart is available to take you. I have a feeling that's going to change really fast because there's, you have your entire family and grandma and grandpa are with you, and that's a long walk for people who may not be able to take the heat. So
we'll change that day, Becky, because on the way back, they were allowing anybody who asked to take a golf cart. Okay.
That's great because guest services, they were telling me that it was still that way. So it's good to know that they're making changes on the fly. I would have hoped, and I know that there's a ton of reasons why, that if it was built a little bit wider for a tram lane, that would have been fantastic. But, obviously they had to make the priority with the environment. And I totally get that. But it is a long walk. Be prepared. I think that's the biggest thing is if people understand what they're getting into, it's not as bad because you're ready for it. Maybe you bring an umbrella to provide shade as you're walking and know that it's going to, you're not going to try to run for the tram unless you're one of the crazy runners out there that we love so much that are going to, turn it into a 5K. There's not a medal at the tram when you get there, as much as the internet would like to say there is. But I, again, completely appreciate what they've done here by not having to tender, because I think that is the worst of the two evils, because tendering has all its own problems as well. So given the situation that they're in, it's the best of the options. And I think that, again, if they just add some shading or some other conveniences to make it a little bit more comfortable, then it will improve it greatly.
I was up on the deck while we were pulling in at 7:30 in the morning, and we first saw that bridge and went, wow, that's a long, long walk. When I got off, I just walked. I was having fun talking with my friends and family, and it wasn't, yes, it's a half a mile. Yes, it can be 15 minutes. But just like you said, Lou, it's a long walk to Space Mountain. It's a long walk to the castle from the train station. It's intimidating. And I mean, I had a friend who was on the cruise that was just there, and again, not calling out, people that say things. For the first time ever, Disney Cruise had half the people not get off this ship. Okay, fine. If you're not getting off the ship, that's your own choice. I had no problem with the walk. It was beautiful. The water around there was beautiful. The sights were amazing. But again, I was looking at everything. There were a lot of people that, as soon as they saw it, the first thing they said is, "That's a horrible walk. How dare Disney?" And then going through the bucket or the checklist that Becky and you had just knocked off of, why didn't Disney do this, this, and this? One, the environment. Two, if a hurricane comes and there's a shade structure on there that's permanent, it can't be that permanent. But looking at the poles that were on there, it looks like they have the structure built for some shade. What they're going to do, the cooling stations, all that, that's great, but it's a walk. I'm not comparing the distance, but when you get off at Castaway, the walk over to the tram from there isn't a short walk. I mean, it's not a half a mile, but it's still
right.
It is definitely the perception of there's nothing in between here and there, or, oh, look, you're walking along and seeing everything. So
yeah,
right. I mean, we could go around and round on this.
Right, we're joking around about it, and I understand, right? Especially if you have mobility issues. I've been the dad with the 2 kids and the diaper bags and all the stuff you see it and you're like, "Oy, that's a walk." What the point is that it's not that bad, and I think they are going to move forward and make as many accommodations as they can to make it easier and certainly as accessible for every guest as possible, whether you have mobility issues, whether it's just a long walk, whatever it might be. So time will tell, and guests will tell, right? We'll certainly, just as Disney does, look and listen for the guest feedback. But all right, let's get to, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the great things is the survey they had after the fact. It really did ask a lot of questions about the experience all through it. And I love the way that Disney listens. So I just want to throw that out. I know that they're going to listen to all the feedback and they're going to take action on the things that they need to.
Right. So just for context and understanding, when you are done with your walk and you arrive at the Mabrika Cove, where there's a little shop, the family cabanas are there. This is sort of the starting point for your day, for your adventures, whether you want to do an excursion from there or bike rentals, go over to the family cabanas. Most guests are going to take a tram to the Goombay Cultural Center, which is sort of the heart and soul of the family beaches. It's how you access Serenity Bay. That too is about a 10-minute tram ride. This is very new construction. So like a lot of the island, plants and trees are just being, just starting to sprout up. The foliage is still coming in. There's a lot of nothing to see along the way. One of the things I did like, though, was the overhead narration and the introduction of some of the new characters that they created specifically for the island. I think it's Sandy the Crab and Lizzie the Lizard were the 2 main in the narration. I know there's some other characters actually on the island, but those were the ones sort of made it fun and interesting. Again, gave us context and gave that sort of that little bit of Disney sprinkle on top that we started to get as soon as you were on the tram over. But at least you're not walking it, and it is shaded and it is covered, and you get a nice breeze along the way as you start to set out on your day. And the way I sort of envision the island, and maybe some of the ways that we can approach this discussion, is I think, like this ship, Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point is broken down into 3 sort of buckets, right? There's the family fun areas, there's the adult escape areas, and there's the things that are just for kids. The first thing that we should address is the beach, right? The beach is, I think, the star of the show. And the way that Lookout is, another way that's sort of different from Castaway, is the way things are separated, right? There are 3 beaches. There is the Mabrika Cove, which is where the family cabanas are, which is very separate and apart from the family beach and Serenity Bay, which has its own set of cabanas. Let's address one thing first. when you first get off the ship and before you even board the tram, that is where the Mabrika Cove family cabanas are. You don't have to take a tram. They are right there. They're within view of the ship. So if you are looking to get a family cabana, 1, book early. 2, that is where you will be. There are pros and cons to that because, again, you will have food served to you, but the family beach, and if your kids want to participate in beach activities, you will need to take the tram. The other 2 beaches, the family beach and Serenity Bay, are in sort of that main area of the island. That is where the Serenity Bay cabanas are, and that's where the Goombay Cultural Center is. All the entertainment and activities take place. Give me your first thoughts about the beach if you had a chance to take a look or even step foot on the beach or in the water.
The beach itself rivals some of the most beautiful beaches in the Caribbean I've ever seen. It is that pink, very powdery sand that is so wonderful on your feet and between your toes. And I mean, I have seen some of the most gorgeous beaches in the Caribbean and in Hawaii, and this is definitely in my top 3. It is gorgeous. It is everything you think about when you want to think about a powdery white sand beach, but it's a little pink. And there's plenty of space. I think that that's one of the reasons why we have a 12 to 15 minute tram ride to get from the tram to this location, is because the beach is so expansive on that side. And that's worth the time. It is worth the time it takes to ride the tram to get to that area because of those beautiful, beautiful beaches. That is worth the day right there. If you are a beach person lying out in the sun and you want to play in the surf and you want to make sandcastles, this is the place to do it.
I completely agree, Becky. And I hate the beach. I hate sand. It's coarse. It gets everywhere. I sadly only got to walk in the water just a little bit. I just walking out and seeing the ocean, it was so picturesque. And like you, Becky, I've been to Hawaii and Aulani. I grew up in Southern California. I've been to what a real beach is, and I've been to a Florida beach. And this beach was just so perfect. I wish that I could have spent more time there. I mean, that's the goal next time, is to just relax on the beach and hopefully get rid of some of my farmer tan.
Well, we'll talk about some of the entertainment specifically, but let's sort of like take this first bucket, right? This idea, because I think, primarily a lot of the folks that are coming here are families, and there are a ton of family-friendly features for those who have young and not so young kids. There is the rush out, gush out water play area, this sort of interactive thing with water jets and slides and splash zones. Sebastian's Cove is a dedicated youth activity area for kids and young teens. And there's also a family lagoon, which has that sort of calm and shallow lagoon area, which is great for families and for kids. There's a gaming pavilion. There's other sort of interactive play zone areas specifically for kids. And then for adults, Becky gets excited when we talk about this. There are, like we said earlier, dedicated areas like on Castaway. Serenity Bay is an exclusive adults-only area for guests 18 and up, but it is a little bit more serene and quiet with beachfront cabanas, a little bit more of a luxurious escape, whether you are a couple or a group of friends looking to, or Becky by herself looking to relax in comfort, and you have your own dining there as well.
This is true. However, if you're really looking for a serene Serenity Bay, it's going to be better at Castaway for me, because the two locations of the Family Beach and Serenity Bay are right next to each other with very little separation. I think that maybe they will fix that going forward, but it was literally cones separating the two beaches. The cabanas are also set away from the beach, so it's not like you have a direct beach side. You have the view, obviously, of the beach, but you're a little bit farther set back. It was there wasn't a lot of signage. There was like one sign that kind of told you as you walked towards Serenity Bay that it was an area for 18 and older only. And you walk past the cabanas to actually get to the food area, and then the ramps that take you down into that, to that area as well. I found it a little bit, more quiet over there. Absolutely. They do have one of my favorite things, a bar, but it does have some separation. But if you're really looking for a quiet adults only beach area, then I prefer Serenity Bay at Castaway.
So, Becky, the first thing I want to address, the signage. And, earlier on I said there was a few things Disney will be addressing. What I found out on that day was the signage that was supposed to have been installed was actually stuck in customs somewhere.
Oh, wow. So,
yeah. Much like the Magic or the Wish when it first launched, there were things that were still missing because of customs and that sort. So, yeah, the signage was coming, is there. We don't know the status at all. But that was, when I talked to many people, that was the first thing, was the signage. And that is something Disney was already working on. So we'll see that change as time goes on, if it's not already. The food, both the True and True 2, that's the names of it, right?
I can't say that. I can't even get those words out of my mouth for some reason. True. Whatever.
Yeah. They both had some sandwich board signs that did have the same menu. But I know one of the things that was talked about at the media event that Lou and I were at was some conch salad that was supposed to be part of the menu and other things. So, hopefully that was just, again, day one. They didn't... Yeah, day one problems that they should have gone, it's day one, we should already have these figured out. I didn't get a chance to actually explore Serenity versus the normal beach area, but one of the things, and I'm going to jump ahead just a wee bit, Lou, I did the nature trail, and when you walk down the nature trail, there is a path that leads out to the beach that was completely empty. There was nobody that ventured down that far. I walked out there and I saw maybe a handful of footprints of the people that took that trail earlier. And for me, that was just like, next time I go there, I'm taking my stuff out to the far corner and sitting right there and enjoying it. And then maybe forgetting to go back on the ship.
Well, I think that's one of the things that I like on Castaway. And it's one of the things that I found when I was on Lookout is, and this is a tip that we can share or save for later. I think what happens is you come off the tram, you go straight ahead, and everybody sort of funnels into that center part of the beach and then starts to bleed out to the end. I do the opposite. I suggest going far left, or in my case, I liked going far right and going all the way down to the end because it is much more quiet. People are more reluctant to sort of take that additional walk at the beginning and sort of pay that for a little bit more privacy that you get in some of the farther areas, which I saw. And again, we were on the Magic. The Magic was not full. I would be very curious to see what this island's going to look like when the Dream and Fantasy show up with a full complement of guests. But that would be my first tip is when you get to the beach, 1, get there early. 2, don't go straight, go to the right or go to the left and to some of the farther ends if you want a little more privacy and seclusion. You took the nature trail?
I did.
So that is one of the things I wish I would have done. It's one of the things that they had talked about, which supposedly was beautiful, and I just didn't get a chance to do. But there's a lot of, like Castaway, there's a lot of things to do on the island that I think most of us didn't get to do. You got to do the nature trail, but there are like guided tours and cultural tours and historic tours and buggy tours and biking. I would love to take a kayak out on that beautiful water one day. There's also scuba trips and things like that. So you can go to the Port Adventures desk and find out, either on board the ship or when you get there, and find out about some of the different recreational activities that are there, whether it be self-guided from bike rentals, which I think are like $10, $15 an hour, and there's banana boats and snorkel equipment. So all the things that you can do on Castaway, you can do here. And it does seem like there are some additional historical nature and buggy and historical and cultural tours, which Castaway doesn't have, which when I go back, I'd really be curious to see both the ones that are in the buggies as well as maybe you want to get out of the sun. Maybe you want to take something that's in an SUV or in a van. You can do that here as well. And if you are a certified scuba diver, you can do scuba diving as well.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance. That again, the curse and blessing of we get to experience this stuff, but the curse is we don't get to experience a lot of this stuff. I love snorkeling. That's my number one activity on Castaway. I know at Lookout there isn't anything extra in the lagoon, at least as of yet. So if you're snorkeling, you're just going out to look at beautiful fish and the coral and everything. So who wants to do that? If Mickey Mouse isn't out there, what's the point? But when you said go right or left when you get off the ship, I pretty much got off, got right on the tram, and then hit the ground running like you did, Lou, where we went and saw the entertainment offerings and everything. And it wasn't until the very end of the day where I kind of went, okay, something I wanted to cover was the nature trail, and headed out that way. There's a path, one way leads to the beach, which is, like I said, just heaven. And then the other leads to the lighthouse, which is actually...
Did you go to the lighthouse?
Yeah, it's a light station. There's a whole backstory about the light station. They call it Lighthouse. It's not, out of Maine or anything that looks like Pete's Dragon Lighthouse. But it's a beautiful walk, and there's beautiful cliffs. It was just very relaxing.
How far is that trail? Just because I'm not sure how long it is.
It wasn't as long as I expected. I don't remember the exact mileage of it, but it wasn't that long of a walk. I think maybe 15, 20 minutes.
So a couple of quick things. I've been asked a lot if there is or there was a 5K. There was not the first time. My understanding is that a 5K is supposed to be available at some point. That is unofficially. I'm trying to get a definitive answer one way or the other. And before we leave the beach area and talk about one of the other things that I think really makes sort of Lookout shine is, I think we even talked about this between the three of us. When you look out into the water, again, this is not Castaway. So there are no water slides. There is no Pelican plunge out there. And there was a lot of sort of conversation as to why. Why are there no water slides out there? And I think there's has to be either governmental or environmental restrictions, or maybe they want this to be different than Castaway. They do not want these sort of, theme park like attractions and things like that into the water. But as of right now, there are no water slides there. There are like small water slides, like in the kids' water play areas, like in the rush out, gush out water play area. But if you're looking for something like a Pelican plunge with the multiple slides, that does not exist on Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. All right, so going from the beaches and some of the family options, I think one of the things that really stood out for me that was a huge, pleasant surprise was the entertainment. I think the entertainment at Lookout Cay was wonderful. So let's sort of start. We'll sort of start with Disney and work our way down. There are a number of character appearances, both at the Goombay Cultural Center, which is not too far once you come off of the tram. Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Daisy, Pluto, Chip, and Dale are all in their authentic Bahamian and Junkanoo inspired costumes. We see them engaging in a lot of different games and activities, and there's photo opportunities both at the Gathering Tree as well as that Junkanoo inspired Mickey Mouse backdrop. But I think, Jeremiah, you and I are both at the same ones of both. The two main entertainment offerings are a Rush, a Junkanoo celebration, which takes place at the Goombay Cultural Center, sort of right in the heart of the island, twice daily. There's also the Fun in the Sun Beach Bash at the Play Pavilion with character appearances. And there's also this great cultural workshop called The Sights and Sounds of Junkanoo, which also takes place at the Goombay Cultural Center. I never heard the word Junkanoo until I was introduced to what was coming to Lookout. But this is a collaboration with the National Junkanoo Committee for this authentic representation of a celebration that takes place in the Bahamas around Christmas time, from Boxing Day, the 26th, and I believe again on or around New Year's. And twice a day, this wonderful, colorful, high energy, like loud Junkanoo group leads a parade to the Goombay Cultural Center with very colorful costumes, a lot of dancing, lively music. Characters are there, and they really encourage guests to join in the fun. And this is one of those edutainment type offerings, right? It's not just sort of this high energy parade, but I think it's meant to authentically represent and celebrate this cultural tradition. And then by having this interactive element that takes place a few times a day, where you can participate in workshops, you can create your own Junkanoo headpieces. That's sort of where the fun educational part comes into, about the history and the significance of Junkanoo. And in that cultural center, there's also a lot of Junkanoo inspired arts and crafts and authentic Bahamian artists contributed to the murals and the sculptures and everything else that's in there. So that's what I meant before when I said, like Aulani, it's authentically Bahamian with a little bit of Disney sprinkled on top. Jeremiah and Becky, what were your thoughts on the Rush A Junkanoo Celebration parade?
This was one of the things that made me giggle and laugh and enjoy every second, because I'd seen the Junkanoo celebrations at other private islands and in the Bahamas at different times. But this was so much fun because it did have that little sprinkling of Disney with it. So you had the characters in their specific costumes that come out at first and kind of introduce what's happening. And then you hear the whistles, and then you hear the drums, and then you hear the chants. And it has so much flavor and energy to it and color. You can't help but tap your feet and get into it and want to dance with them. Like you said, and I completely agree, this is that perfect mix of Disney and the Bahamas, as is Aulani with the Hawaiian culture and with the Disney characters. You definitely know where you are when you witness this wonderful parade, and the colors and the feathers and the costumes and the music and the spirit of the Bahamian people really comes through during that 10 minutes that you have together to watch this parade. And I think it's one of the number one must-dos on that beach, besides lay out on the beach and go to the bar, of course, is to witness this Junkanoo, because it really is spectacular and everything that I was hoping that it would be.
And Jeremiah, very quickly before you go, the thing that I felt about this that I loved, and I think it paid off what Disney was preaching and promising from the very beginning. This did not feel like a Disney-vibe version of an authentic Junkanoo parade. It feels like because they did, picked up Junkanoo performers that worked from and brought them over. And there was that tiny little, the Disney characters are very much almost in the periphery, because the focus really is on the authentic performers, which is one of the things I really liked, again, much like Aulani.
Yeah, I completely agree with the mix. Lou, you and I were running during this time, so we kind of came in as everybody was creating their own headpieces, which is amazing because they have Bohemian artists there helping everybody, going through the actual steps, explaining what they're doing. I know Becky had a seat and was able to see some of that side a little bit more. But then, we heard the parade was coming, and the parade, those performers, you thought our half-mile walk was long from where they came out, playing the instruments, dancing all the way up to the Goombay Cultural Center is a long, long walk, and they were partying the entire time. Sadly, I was with Lou and everybody else, the media, down front, just recording.
Can you rephrase that? Sadly, I was with Lou. It's because it.
Wait a minute.
Sadly, Lou and I were down front recording, period. So we didn't get to really get into Junkanoo celebration as much as I wanted to. I know in the past at some events where they've had the performers come out, it is just a party. And if you were there just to see the characters and the Junkanoo performance, you're there. That's great. But if you happen to be where they come out and they parade all the way over to the cultural center, I heard it for the second performance. I think I was in Serenity Bay, and you could hear it, and everybody was getting into it. And it is, again, with the blessing and the curse, we don't get to have as much fun, but we got to have as much fun that we could. I cannot wait to go and experience this again, create my own headpiece, get into it, and go, Becky, me and you up there dancing the entire time.
I want to follow the parade. Because I could see it's like this thing, it gains life as it starts to go through the island, and people start to just sort of file in and become part, and it's more participatory than it is passive.
And that's what happened where I was, because I didn't go to the front of the stage. I stayed where everybody was still making the masks, and they were getting people up off the chairs and in a limbo run around, and everybody was dancing, and they were pulling them in the lines, and it just had that. They were handing some of the instruments to some of the bystanders. I mean, it really was a party. And if you didn't want to party, you could still watch, but they were going to do everything they could to get you involved into the session. I also want to, just on a side note really quick, Jeremiah, you keep saying you and Lou were running. I wasn't sitting at the bar the entire time. I just want to go on record to say that I was running too, just so that you know. I was lucky and stayed in the seat and stayed in the shade.
Right. Becky had people running for her too, Jeremiah. Don't worry. Becky went and did the things that she needed to do, which was check out everything that Lou and I were doing the first time. She did the second time. Yes, we crossed paths once or twice going the opposite way. So, no, I know Becky was not out by the beach the entire time. Because there's son and children there, so she does not like that. All right. Speaking of limbo, nice segue, Mangello.
You just moved on over for that one, didn't you?
I certainly did. Talking about something that was fun, right? That I would not have expected. When I read it on paper, I'm like, this sounds like something that's going to be a lot of fun for families with young kids. I'm talking about the Fun in the Sun Beach Bass, this family-friendly activity that takes place multiple times a day. Again, with this distinctly Bahamian twist. This takes place at the Play Pavilion, which again has this overlook. It's literally like sort of right on and above the beach. So beautiful setting to the far. Again, if you sort of come off the tram, it's to the far right, and it features a variety of fun and interactive games for families. There's Goofy's Good Day Limbo, Pluto's Pineapple Ring Toss, and Chippendale's Water Brigade. And you're like, sure, Lou, this sounds like things that my kids would like. Get ready, because you to see parents or people who are parents like myself becoming part of the fun too. The characters are there. You want to talk about a high energy cast member leading leading those activities. It was a high energy, high music, culturally integrated thing that is not just for kids, but for adults. This was the biggest surprise for me. I'm going to be honest. This is not something I normally would have thought that I would have been interested in doing, or, my kids are older, they wouldn't like it. But, we took part in the Water Brigade game. I somehow ended up getting out there and doing a limbo. I'm praying that Jeremiah does not have video of this, but it was so much fun. And I love the yikes. Becky, you look lovely today, by the way. I was really surprised at just what a fun participatory event was, not just for family, but for everybody who was involved.
That was so much fun. And like you said, when you go into it, it's like, okay, there's going to be a couple of kiddie games, but no, they pull everybody into that. You can participate. You don't have to participate. It's just as much fun to watch. I was shocked when I looked up and all of a sudden you were in a line of people with water splashed all over you and handing, what was it, sponges that you were moving from one side to the other to move water. It everybody was giggling, and I saw someone laughing so hard that they fell down. I mean, it was not just for families, it's for everybody. I would say that if you want some high energy fun, definitely go to that and get involved and get in the conga line. And those cast members are going to make sure you have fun. I laughed and enjoyed every second of it and was hoping to go watch it again.
It was a ton of fun. I would like to point out one thing. The name is very misleading. One, you are not in the sun, and two, you are not on the beach. Thankfully, you're actually undercover. I sadly was recording the entire thing. So yes, there is video of Lou doing the limbo. His son Nicholas getting yelled at to squeeze the sponge more, get the water all the way out. But it was one of those things of, going around I'm holding my camera, trying to record everything, almost turning 360 because there was so much activity and so much fun going on all around. It was a blast. The only thing that I felt bad for were the cast members whose energy going for that 20 plus minutes. Thank goodness it wasn't in the sun because they would have been dropping. But it was very cute. This was also the spot that something that was pointed out to us at one point was they were taking original Disney tunes and adding a bohemian twist to it. And the music that was in that area for the games were those songs. If you asked me right afterwards, I would have told you I didn't hear anything different about it. When we went back, Eye to Eye from a Goofy Movie, they changed up a little bit to had more of the island feel to it. So overall, it's just great. And I can't imagine when they're just kids and families having fun, not 30 people holding their cameras trying to record everything.
There were a lot of participants, though, for those, since it was a media event, there were a lot of people, a lot of you guys dropped your cameras and jumped on in. And that just tells you how much fun it was that you needed to be part of it.
If you would have told me beforehand that I was going to be not recording and doing a limbo, I would have told you that you were cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Yet there I was, and I had a blast. I really enjoyed it. All right, we have a lot more that we need to cover. I want to very quickly touch on something that I didn't get to see other than from a distance, which were the cabanas. I believe both of you guys had a chance to go into the cabanas. And as we touched on earlier, the private cabanas provide, if you've seen them on Castaway, it's a very relaxing, very luxurious experience for families and adults, as well as a little bit of comfort and some privacy, a lot of convenience as well. And there's two different cabanas. There are the family beach cabanas, which are for guests, whether you have children or not, very easy access to the beach, as well as getting to and from the ship. And the adult exclusive cabanas, which are on Serenity Bay, which a little bit more tranquil, again, only for guests 18 and up. Much like Castaway, they have lounge chairs, seating, hammocks. They come with a dedicated cabana host for services. There's complimentary beverages and snacks and towels. Becky's getting this is where Becky really comes to shine. They do need to be reserved in advance. They do come at a cost, and availability is very, very limited. These book up very, very, very quickly. And there is premium pricing for the cabanas over at Serenity Bay due to some of the enhanced amenities and some of the exclusivity. We talked on it. Touched on it a little bit earlier. I do believe that the menus that we're going to see are going to be like on Castaway, there it's going to be a little bit more of an elevated menu. Just very quickly, as folks who had a chance to take a look at either or both of the cabanas, Becky and Jeremiah, give me your quick thoughts on what you saw.
I was able to hop into the 18 plus cabanas, and they were beautiful. One of the things that I'd like to also say is I've never been to any of the other cruise lines private islands where I know Becky and you have both experienced some of those. So my opinion is just on that. That cabana was so nice. That would be someplace that I would definitely be like, I'm just going to go relax here the entire day. The walking out onto the beach, as Becky said earlier, it's a little bit removed from the beach. So you have kind of your own little area. There was a volleyball net so you could play. But it was, the placement for me was nice because it was close. But I could see, as Becky has said, the placement of it compared to the family beach. And we saw a lot of people getting lost in the families walking over towards Serenity Bay and those cabanas because the signage wasn't there, which I'm sure will change. But the cabanas were as nice as you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, the comparison with some of the other cabanas of some of the competitors they're spot on. They're beautiful. They have a lot of seating. They have a lot of room, a lot of space. One of the things that they did do, which I thoroughly enjoyed, is the iPad that allows you to pick music that you want in your cabana. You can also place orders through it for food. The Serenity Bay ones, it is removed from the beach, so they weren't actually, the placement isn't my favorite. I would say if I was going to get a cabana, I might actually go for the family beach because it does have that direct access to the beach. And they have over on the family beach, as Lou mentioned earlier, it is a little bit of a hike if you and your family want to go participate in some of the fun things that we were just talking about on the main part of the island. It's that 12-minute tram ride to get out there. However, you really could just go to the cabana and not have to leave it. They do have the cabana folks who will bring you food, who will bring you beverages. You have that direct access to the beach. They do have cabanas that allow up to 10 people, and there are larger ones that allow up to 16. Also, I do want to mention that both Serenity Bay cabanas and the Family Beach also have a few accessible cabanas as well, with ramps instead of stairs. So they did think ahead with that as well. But the larger, the grand family one, which I believe is the one that allows up to 16 people, it even has a big dining table in there. So a lot of lounges to sit on, a lot of places to be in the shade, other places to be out on the deck in the sun. And at the Family Beach, you do have that beautiful view of the ship, which is gorgeous. So if you and your family just want to have a day together on the beach, then the family cabanas are a great option for that.
Yeah, and I think you have to decide, if you're looking at a cabana, how you and your family vacation and understanding expectations, right? Because of where they're located. And I'll post a map. If you haven't seen it already, I'll post a map over in the show notes at WDWRadio.com. But because the family cabanas are right by the Mabrika Cove, where you have the cabana check-in and the closest access to the ship, you are the tram ride away, as you said, Becky. You are the tram ride away, not just from the dining locations, which we're going to get to, which you don't have to worry about, right? Because they'll deliver food to you. But if you have children that do want to participate in some of the kids' activities, they want to go to the water play area, they want to see the Junkanoo celebration, you are going to have to leave the cabana, get on the tram, go, and then go back, and then sort of just allocate the time and resources, because it is about a 10 to 12 minute tram ride each way. So it's not good or bad. It's just something you need to consider for however you want to spend your day at Lookout Cay.
Right. One of the other things that I forgot to mention too, I didn't see the menu myself, but I was told that in the cabanas, they do have an elevated menu for food. So things that are available only in the cabanas that aren't available at the regular food stops.
I'm not saying that the three of us clearly need another research trip just to make sure we can fill in some of these gaps, but I'm saying that the three of us need a research trip to fill in some of these gaps.
I'm not opposed to that.
Comedy.
I think
We'll
that's
film
a great
the whole
idea.
thing. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm in.
I'm obviously saving the dining for last. I want to quickly touch on the shopping, of which is plentiful. There are a variety of shopping options that feature not just Disney Cruise Line merchandise, but a lot of local Bahamian crafts. And they are very sort of strategically located across the island, providing convenient access. And the main shopping locations are the First and Last Chance stand, which is by the arrival and departure port. So if you forgot something before you get on the ship, you can find it there. If you're looking for sunscreen, toiletries, you can find that there as well. Once you get to the main part of the island, the other locations are Disney Tings, which has the Disney Cruise Line and Lookout Cay merchandise, shirts, hats, bags, a lot of different souvenirs and magnets and ornaments. You name it, they make it. And when we've seen, I'm sure you've probably seen online a lot of the very vibrant, very colorful, very Bahamian inspired merchandise that's there. There's also the Treasures of Eleuthera, which is its own separate location right across the path, which specializes in local Bahamian-made crafts, handcrafted jewelry, artwork, unique items that reflect the culture and heritage of Bahamas. A couple of the artists put a little bit of a Disney touch on top too, which I liked. And I loved seeing how popular this was. The people who were there were not just going for the branded logo merchandise, but really were embracing the fact that the local artists and artisans are there selling goods that they made, by hand. And there's also a Plates and Pleats, which has hair braiding services, which is very popular in the Bahamas. Jeremiah gets it every single time he goes. Very quickly, did you get a chance to look at any or all of the merchandise locations? And if so, did you bring anything home for yourself?
I was lucky enough to see the shops further in. The one when you get off the ship, walked past it, and something, just to throw this out also, everything closed early. Like, it wasn't, we got on the ship at, I think we had to be on by 5:30. Like, things were closing at 2 or 3, other than the main shops, the main 2 shops in the center. I came home with some of the pins. I definitely was looking at some of the shirts. They had so many unique pieces of merchandise. It was great to see. But again, it's time for the research trip. You were talking about the Bohemian Disney touch, the purses that they were working on. They were actually making some of those as we were sitting there, because I saw somebody starting a princess purse, and then by the time we were leaving, she was finishing up. And those went really fast, because I was definitely looking to get you a couple of princess purses, Lou, but they sold out of all your favorites.
Just add to my collection. Thank you for thinking of me. Becky, did you get a chance to see anything? Any thoughts on the merchandise before we move on?
I walked through. I think there was a ton of options, which was really nice to see. And however, I really appreciated, I think mentioned this before, that you can get the authentic Bahamian arts and crafts as well. And there was a lot of artists that were there that were making different arts that I loved. There were some things that I went, next time when we come back, I might have to bring a bigger suitcase to bring a couple of those things back. I did see the pins. I loved a few of the shirts. I'm sure, Disney does merch really, really well when they do it really, really well. So it's easy to spend a lot of your budget in one of those shops.
Yeah, and I'll share the video in the clubhouse, and I'll try and see if I can put an abbreviated up on my Instagram reels where I talk to some of the folks about the merchandise, not just the Disney-inspired merchandise and sort of the things that sort of reflect the island, but some of the merchandise that was created by the Bahamian artists, some of which have a little bit of that Disney touch on top, and some of which, again, like we said, really just sort of celebrates the Bahamian culture. So you don't have to, if you're looking to bring something home from the Bahamas, and maybe you don't want to get off in Nassau for one reason or another, right? I think it's a great time to enjoy the ship with not a lot of people on it. Knowing that you can get off at Lookout and still bring home something that is authentic Bahamian with or without the Disney touch is one of the things I really liked. And I love the fact that they had a specifically dedicated area with these curated artists and artwork and jewelry and things like that for Disney guests to enjoy. Now, let's get to one of, if not the most important part of the island. I know we talked about the beach and the incredible entertainment. Let's talk about the dining. One of the things I've always loved about going to Castaway is going to Cookies or Cookies 2. Here, it's not Cookies or Cookies 2. It's True, True. Becky's favorite word, True Barbecue or True 2. And the Serenity Bay Barbecue located over in those areas. And there's really sort of two aspects of it. There's the food that is served as well as where you eat it. Now, on Castaway, for Cookies and Cookies 2, there are two sort of covered areas with picnic benches where you go and eat, which is sort of hidden. It's across sort of the sidewalk and sort of hidden by a lot of the foliage from the beach. Here, it's located near the family beach, but there are these beautiful sort of pods. Like there's like 4 different pods next to each that are open air eateries that are right on the beach with ocean views. There are these covered pavilions that feel more wide open and don't have these picnic benches, but instead they're sort of like, there's like round picnic benches almost, right? There are these circular tables that don't feel as though they were as close to each other as they did. It feels much more spread out, much more open than they did over in Castaway. It's market style family dining. So again, there are different windows that serve a variety of items like barbecue ribs and cheeseburger and island spice chicken. There are a lot of Bahamian inspired menu items. There is grilled spice mahi mahi. One of the things I loved were these sort of make your own chicken and seafood rice bowls, barbecue ribs, rotisserie chicken, again in as well as salads, etc. There's also I tried a couple of the Bahamian dishes, like there's pigeon peas and rice. It seemed like it was a bit more of an extensive menu than you have over in Castaway, and again, a lot more, I felt it was sort of inspired by the Bahamas.
I really loved, and I was pleasantly surprised when I saw the rice bowls added into the regular family. So they had a shrimp rice bowl and a chicken rice bowl, and I went right for those. They were so good, and then of course they have all the regular options and choices that you would normally anticipate that you see it at Castaway. I do enjoy, like you said, the setup of the dining where they have like the pods set up and tables. It seems like there was more seating available than I've seen before at Castaway, which was nice. A little bit more spread out. There's a lot more space too to get service and to serve yourself at the buffet locations.
Jeremiah?
So I don't know if you guys ate before or after me. And again, the food, first day, we have to look at all this with a learning curve. For me, most of the food was gone. Like I was just getting bits and pieces when I went up there. I wasn't overly fond of the new setup. I almost like the buffet line that's at Castaway a little bit more than this, because the windows, people were forming lines, but they were trying to get the half chicken. They weren't getting everything else. And the culture we are in, you get in a line. But when I just want something that's over here, I was getting the dirty looks of like, hey, you're skipping. No, I was. Right.
Is it like cabanas where you're meant to sort of pop in and out of the windows, or is it meant to be a line?
Yeah. Okay, we're going to have to do a double dip, Castaway and Lookout, so we can get them side by side. For me, the food wasn't a standout, and I know that's sacrilegious to talk to Lou about the food not being amazing. I take that back. The food was good. The experiences with everything weren't amazing.
Which I think, to your point, Jeremiah, it's, it was day one. It was the first. I mean, it's not an excuse, but it's a reason why. And I think that's why I think it giving them a little bit of grace. It's something that has to be fixed on day two, right? It can't, it's not acceptable for it to continue to happen. So hopefully when we go back in a couple of weeks, we will see it again. Becky, I'm going to save the best for last for you, because your two favorite words, bars and beverages, of which there are plenty. There is the Blue Hole Bar, which is in Serenity Bay, the Bow and Ribbon Bar, which is by the main dining areas, the Watering Hole Bar, also located near some of the main dining spots, the Reef and Wreck, which has cocktails and frozen drinks, which is, again, very conveniently accessible, Sensational Smoothies, which has a lot of kid-friendly frozen drinks and smoothies, and Mangroves and Go, which is near the arrival spot on the island. I was looking forward, based on the menu and something that we sampled at a media event earlier on, Jeremiah. I didn't get a chance to try anything, but one of the things I liked just from a 30,000 foot view was there are a lot of places to go and get a drink. They are very easily accessible. And then obviously there's also, like on Castaway, the servers that will come out and meet you and bring you drinks on the beach. Did you guys get a chance to try any of the beverages, cocktails, mocktails, smoothies while you were there, or any sort of thoughts about the beverage options?
I only got to try the one mocktail that we actually tried at the media event with the coconut water. I can't think of the name of it, but it was tasty and very refreshing. But as a non-drinker, the amount of bars were plentiful. I know that my family that were on the ship also definitely partook and enjoyed the ability to walk up to many of the multiple bars. There wasn't ever a time that they said that it was just too crowded. So I think that helps, as opposed to something like Castaway, which I know there are 2-3 bars on there, but every time I've ever been around them, they're usually 2 or 3 people deep.
Well, I had to take one for the team and, try a few because, somebody's got to do it.
You're
so
such a giver.
There was 3.
So
I know. There were 3 that I loved. The Junkanoo Latte for number 1 is because they have a cold brew there that's vanilla and lavender. So I saw that and I thought, lavender in a cold brew. I had never tried anything like that before. It was really tasty. So they do have a couple of coffee refreshers that are available. They also have a Bahama brew, which has the coconut cold cream and a couple of Hawaiian touches. They do have some 0 proof non-alcohol, but I didn't try those because I figured you guys would. The Eleuthera Euphoria was really good. It had rum, pineapple, and the pineapple Dole Whip. So it was every time we're like, got to have a Dole Whip with rum. There you go. That's the one that you want to try. The Junkanoo juice was the 3rd one I tried, and it has rum, banana, passion, orange, guava, pineapple, and lime, which is like the perfect refresher for a beach. It's like that thing that you want with the little umbrella as you're sitting in your beach chair looking at the beach. That is the perfect cocktail to go with the whole ensemble.
Again, part of the research, and that's whatever that coffee, that cold brew with the coconut foam is what we tried at the media event, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. It was delicious. That's the thing I was disappointed that I didn't get a chance to try while we were there. So that is sort of a detailed but very almost relatively quick look at the island as a whole. Look, in the relatively short amount of time that we had there, the way I kept on describing it was I found the island wonderfully overwhelming, right? As it's the first time we're wide-eyed, we're trying to take everything in, and clearly we couldn't, right? Which is why I wanted to have other people and other voices here, because we did sort of divide and conquer to make sure we saw everything. One of the things I noticed too about Lookout was there was, and like I said earlier, and while Castaway has its own, I think there was this amazing energy to the island, even with the ship not being the biggest and the ship not being full. There was this great energy there, and I referenced this earlier. I referenced it in one of the panel discussions. There was a little bit of what I think Disney does well in the parks, which is this sense of edutainment, right? We were being entertained, but I really did feel like I was learning. I was getting an understanding and getting an appreciation and a desire to learn more about Bahamian culture, the Bahamian people, their traditions. I want to learn more about what Junkanoo is. I want to go back to the cultural center. And that's why it's like Aulani. It's authentically Bahamian first with that little bit of Disney sprinkled on top. And when I talked to some of the Imagineers, I said, what do you want us to take away? Like literally and figuratively, like when we turn around and look back at the island, what do you want us to take away? And I think that's what it is. They want us to not just understand and appreciate the culture, but have this thirst to come back and desire to learn more. So I would love to get your final thoughts, right? Your overall sort of thoughts and feelings about the island, what you loved, what you didn't love, and maybe any tips that you might have. Ladies first. Becky's pointing at Jeremiah because she needs time to think about it. I was going to say ladies first, but Becky doesn't want to go first. Becky's going on Google. She's asking Jeeves right now. Tips for Lookout.
Here's my hands.
Asking Jeeves?
Wow. So, see how old he is? Keep going.
Becky's using
Lookout Cay. No.
Becky's still using her computer from CompUSA, so just go ahead. It's fine.
Oh my God.
Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point, for me, was the second island I've been on. It's beautiful. The beaches are spectacular. There was a lot to see and do. One of the things that, Lou, just like you talked about, we're dividing and conquering. Everybody that I talked to that was doing media felt overwhelmed. They thought, there were great parts of the island, there were bad parts. I was lucky enough to be there with my family who never been on Castaway. They've never done, they've done some of the other islands, but for them, they said it was just perfect. They went out, they enjoyed the beach, they enjoyed some lunch, they had some drinks. They did what a normal guest would do. For me, I loved it all. If I had to pick a ship or a cruise to go on, and it was either the same itinerary with Castaway or the same itinerary with Lookout, after I do Lookout on our research trip in a few weeks, I right now I'm still leaning towards Castaway just because I love the feel of you're on a tropical island that you just happen to be cast away on. Lookout has some beautiful points. The bohemian culture, the liveliness of the island, as you said, Lou, is really there. There wasn't a time where I felt kind of I'm just relaxing. Yes, we're running nonstop, but it does have an energy with the cast members, with the rush going, with everybody just being in the moment. Ask me that in 3-4 weeks after our next research trip. That could possibly change, but I love the island. I want to go back. It is a thing of beauty. That is what I will say. It is a thing of beauty.
Nice. Becky?
I see Lookout as a wonderful complement to Castaway. And, luckily we have some opportunities and some itineraries that actually do a double dip. So you get to go to one and the other on the same itinerary, which I think that's kind of brilliant so that you can kind of compare and contrast. The island itself is a wonderful beach break. If you and your family are looking for a day at the beach, Lookout is going to be a wonderful option for that because, again, it's got one of the most stunning beaches I have ever seen available to families. If you have done other private islands from other cruise lines, you might find this, it will be a lot different than others because it is more about the culture and the environment rather than about bells and whistles and water slides and beach parties and so forth. So I think it's really important that anybody who's thinking about trying to choose between the amazing options that are out there for your vacation dollar is to really consider what you're looking for in your day at a private island. And for a lot of people, just laying out on the beach and having a great time with their family and having some wonderful entertainment and having the things to snorkel or bike or build a sandcastle is exactly what you're looking for in your vacation. This will deliver. I think that in time, as the foliage grows and the trees grow and giving it a little time for Disney to work out the tweaks and the kinks and get rid of the flies and help make that walk a little bit more comfortable. It's going to be, like I said, a wonderful complement to Castaway. And families are going to have a beautiful time if their expectations are set appropriately for the offering.
Yeah, so I'll start off by giving a couple of practical tips before you visit. And when I say this first one, I mean it, seriously, not tongue in cheek. Like, wear comfortable shoes, right? You are going to do a lot of walking as you get off the ship, as you come on the ship. So, comfort over fashion first, right? This is not the time to wear your beach heels as you make that walk down. And
Lou
understand,
made that mistake.
Listen, it's blisters for days. Set your expectations accordingly, right? Understand. I think, Becky, like you said, it is a beach island, right? It is, I think we talked about, Lookout emphasizes this more Bahamian culture, resort type feel, while Castaway focuses a little bit more, I think, on Disney storytelling. I mentioned earlier, the closest spots to when you get off the tram may not necessarily be the best. I really like the area, and this is probably where you will find me, is over by the Play Pavilion off to the right. There's food there, there's bars there, and it's a little bit more quiet because you back up to to the right of you to nothing, right? There's nobody there to the right side. One of the things I like about this, and hopefully we've been able to capture from our very first, very abbreviated visit, right? We were not on the island for the full amount of time, number one. Number two, we were trying to capture a lot as opposed to experience a lot. I really think that this island appeals to different types of travelers, right? Depending, you sort of make your own adventure, whatever you want your Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point experience to be. I highly recommend going to participate in more than you probably think that you should. Like, participate in the cultural workshops. Go and watch the Junkanoo Parade. Go to the Play Pavilion and take in all of what the island has to offer. There were some things I don't know if I mentioned that I really liked about the island. We talked about the raised and very convenient walkways. Again, those are there from a practical perspective to protect the environment, but from a guest perspective, it makes everything on the island very, very accessible. And there's two meanings to that word. They are accessible in terms of ease to get there, and there are ramps everywhere. I have a lot of friends, a lot of members of the community have mobility issues, are in wheelchairs, have scooters, whatever. The island is designed from the outset to be incredibly accessible to every guest. And that's one of the things that I really, really liked as well. Again, I also really liked taking the flies out of the equation. I really liked those covered dining areas for the True True Barbecue and having those views out onto the beach. I agree, and Jeremiah, I'm happy you said that they were stuck in customs, because my one suggestion was going to be, they need to add more signage, right? More wayfinding signage, and that signage to the walkway, again, explaining the coral and the environment to help people understand the why of the bridge. The adding of more golf carts, I think, would be helpful. I would also love to see, there's a couple of other things that I would love to potentially see, and we don't know, again, we saw it literally on day one. We don't know what month 1, year 5 is going to look like. I would, as we're immersing us in the Bahamian culture, I would love to see if they could figure out, like, is there a way to incorporate some additional themed dining experiences that really highlight that Bahamian cuisine more authentically and creatively, whether it's a cooking class, whether it is an add-on, a plussed up dining experience somewhere. I would love to sort of dig a little deeper into, because I think that's how we really understand a culture, is through its food. Plus, I'm always hungry. Because I don't have anybody, nor did I know anybody, I want to, when we go back, because now, Becky, you're on the hook because everybody hears it. I would like to see if there are any dedicated areas and activities for teens and that sort of like the 18-20 club, similar to like the Vibe Club on Castaway. Like, I think when I was at that age, that often awkward age, I'm still at an awkward age, it doesn't matter, but having a space for not just families, not just adults, but those, those ones that are sort of in between, for them to go and have activities for themselves. I'd also love to see I think there's an opportunity too for more interactive experiences, like a scavenger hunt, an adventure trail. Again, that would also appeal to different age groups, because maybe you don't want to go and just sit on the beach, or you've seen the parade, or you don't want to do the play stuff, but you want something else to do. I think this island has tons of potential to grow, literally and figuratively, right? Again, we saw from a visual standpoint, the plants, the foliage was literally just planted. It is going to grow. It is going to, it's like looking at Magic Kingdom, pictures from 1971, right? Or Disneyland when it first opened. It will grow into itself. And I think from a participation and immersion standpoint, it will, as well. More importantly, I would love to hear feedback from other folks who have been to Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. Or if you haven't yet, based on what you've heard, based on what you feel, is Lookout Cay something that you are excited about going to? If you've been to Castaway before, how does it compare? I would invite you to come be part of the community and conversation over in the clubhouse at WDWRadio.com/clubhouse. I will post a thread there. We can chat about it there. Better yet, I'd love for you to call the voicemail. I will play it on the air at 407-900-9391. That's 407-900-WDW1. And this Wednesday night, for our normal Wednesday night live show at 7:30 p.m. Eastern at WDW Radio Live, you can watch and chat on both YouTube and Facebook. Let's have a little live Q&A. Let's take some of your questions, either that have come from this show or ones that you might have had that we didn't address. We will be able to take those live on Wednesday night. Becky Megan from Mouse Fan Travel, when you're looking to go to Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point and or Castaway or cruise on Disney Cruise Line or visit any Disney destination, you can go and visit mousefantravel.com. And Jeremiah Good from laughingplace.com. Very quickly, one word, one sentence. Give me, wrap it all up in a bow very nicely, your thoughts or feelings or memories of Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. Ladies first, go.
Well, you were asking about a wish list a minute ago, and it's like, can I put in a wish list for a freshwater pool, please, in the next 5 years? That'd be great. In that beautiful beach.
I want a freshwater pool that's covered, but I want air conditioning and butler service and...
Oh, just a freshwater pool would be great to hang around in, with maybe a swim-up bar. A swim-up bar and a freshwater pool. That would rock.
The list is getting...
But other than that, cute little cocktail with a little umbrella, sitting in the sand, putting your toes in the sand. I'm all in.
So, Lou, one word, serene. That's going to be my one word answer. But we
Serenity now. One word. Serenity now.
We were supposed to have one piece of homework for Becky. So, Becky, what are the name of the two eateries on the island?
Oh, no. Why don't we say true? Because it's hard. True. And then you have Cookies Barbecue and Cookie Barbecue too. Why don't we have two different names? Why does it have to be True?
Because they want you to understand. They want you to understand that it's the same whether you go to Cookies 1 or Cookies 2, True or True 2.
And don't you just say Restaurant 1 and Restaurant 2?
Oh, God.
Buffet 1, Buffet 2.
Yeah, it's funny that Becky is not the head of creative storytelling at Disney. Just call it Restaurant 1, Potty 2. By the way, pro tip. I'm leaving a pro tip.
What?
If you're looking for a restroom, so the canopies of all the pavilions are inspired by Bahamian art. They're all curved except for the restroom. If you're looking for a restroom, look for the tops of the buildings that are pointed. Boom. That's
mic
it.
Drop.
And mic drop.
That's my mic drop. That's my...
Thank you for joining us for Potty Talk with Lou Mongello.
Becky's she's not actually clear how this whole thing works, but...
Oh, and also one of the things that, to me, it looks like there's going to be a walkway for the tram because part of the nature trail comes out there. So, yeah, you don't have to ride the trail. You just have to walk the bridge.
Who was it that said they should just what they should do is just build a water slide from the top of the ship. You slide all the way down to the beach. You bypass the trams.
You dock right up.
It's time for our Walt Disney World Trivia Question of the Week, where you can test your knowledge of Walt Disney World history or just see how well you pay attention to the details in which you see, hear, taste, or remember. If you think you know the answer, you can enter for a chance to win a Disney Prize package. And this week's trivia contest is once again brought to you by you, because as part of the WDW Radio Nation, you help bring every episode of the show to life. You really are such a vital part of every episode, live show, and community. And for as little as $1 per month, not only do you help support the show, but you also unlock exclusive rewards like monthly scavenger hunts, group calls, private community access, and monthly surprise care packages. Plus, your contribution helps our Dream Team project, which sends children with life-threatening illnesses to Walt Disney World through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And thanks to your incredible generosity, we've raised more than $550,000 so far. So please help us in joining to make the magic happen, not just here on the show, but more importantly, for Make-A-Wish. I am so grateful for your love, support, friendship, and help, and I love being able to give back to you each and every month. I want to thank some new and longtime members of the Nation family, including Victoria Pike, Kevin P., Bill Anderson, Amanda Bonner from meandthemagic.com, Marcus Vowell, and Kay Siegel. If you want to help and get rewards, please visit WDWRadio.com/support. Now, before we get to this week's trivia question, let's go back, review last week's, which I know was more than last week ago, and select our winner. So I asked you last week, what was the name of the very short-lived-ish restaurant located in the old Epcot Wonders of Life Pavilion? Over the years, this has really been sort of repurposed for seasonal festivals and corporate events, but at one time, there was a restaurant located in the Wonders of Life Pavilion. Did you ever get a chance to visit? Did you ever eat at the restaurant located inside? If you entered and got this one correct, congratulations. And the answer I was looking for was Pure and Simple. Like, that's the name of the restaurant. I'm not saying the answer is Pure and Simple. This was operational from the pavilion's opening in 1989 until it closed around 2007. And like the pavilion itself, it really emphasized healthy eating with a wide variety of breakfast items, and healthy choices were actually designated by a red apple icon. At one point, they had something called the Wonder Waffle. I'm not kidding. It was called the Wonder Waffle, which you could customize at a toppings bar. Now, at first, this was a hot toppings bar, then later changed to a cold toppings bar, and then it just was prepackaged topping cups. And what was nice was that the dining area was slightly elevated from the main pavilion floor. So not only did you get great views, but you sort of had this distinct eating space. But like I said, the pavilion has been closed since 2007. It was used intermittently for corporate and seasonal festivals and events. It was designated to eventually become the Play Pavilion, but we will see what the future has in store for the Wonders of Life Pavilion. Anyway, I took all the correct entries, randomly selected one, and last week you were playing for a WDW Radio 3D keychain, stickers, pin, and a mystery prize. And last week's winner, randomly selected, is Heather Coffey. So Heather, congratulations. I'll get your prize package out to you right away. And if you played last week and didn't win, that's okay, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's special Walt Disney World, more like Disney Cruise Line, Trivia Challenge. So obviously we need to talk Disney Cruise Line. I'm all in the cruise mood, and it obviously wouldn't be fair to give you a question about Lookout Cay, but it would be fun if I gave you a question about Disney's original private island, Castaway Cay. And so this week, I want you to name a full-length motion picture that was filmed on Castaway Cay. Now there's a hint in the question because I said name a full-length motion picture that was filmed on Castaway Cay, meaning there is more than one. All you have to do is give me one or both. You have until Sunday, June 22nd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern to go to WDWRadio.com, click on this week's podcast, use the form there. And this week, I'm going to send you not just a WDW, if you win, a 3D keychain, stickers, a pin, but also some mystery items that I purchased and brought back to you from Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point, the first ever voyage there. So good luck and have fun. That's going to do it for this week's show. Huge thanks once again for taking the time to tune in this and every week, for your patience in me getting a show out from coming back from my travels, and for subscribing and tuning in. Quickly before you go, don't forget the question this week is simply to tell me what's the first thing you would do or will do when you arrive at Lookout Cay. Come be part of the community and conversation over in the WDW Radio Clubhouse. I'll post the question there, and I welcome and invite you to come introduce yourself, join some of the other conversations, or start one of your own. It is a fun, very friendly, family-friendly, and very welcoming place and community. Plus, don't forget, this Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on both YouTube and Facebook, I'm going to be doing our WDW Radio Live and taking your questions about Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. Just search for WDW Radio on Facebook or YouTube, or you can watch in the Clubhouse or go to WDWRadioLive.com. Also, please connect with me on social. I'm at Lou Mangello on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And visit WDWRadio.com, because as much as I love connecting and talking with you online, nothing beats a handshake and a hug. Check out our events page over at WDWRadio.com. I'll have more information about our next Meet of the Month in Walt Disney World coming very soon, but also find out about our WDW Radio Halloween on the High Seas cruise to both Lookout Cay and Castaway Cay this October, a cruise on the Disney Treasure in February, and our Adventures by Disney in 2025, including Japan, Hollywood, and Southern California, and Disneyland over the summer, and September on the Seine, our Adventures by Disney River Cruise. Again, you can find out more, get a free no-obligation quote from our friends over at mousefantravel.com. You can find all that information and more at WDWRadio.com. And if you are looking for a keynote speaker for your event, conference, or for your business, I share lessons learned from the Disney parks on customer service, leadership, and experience. And if you're a creator, an entrepreneur, or solopreneur looking to take your business, brand, or idea to the next level, you can find out some of the ways I can help you. We can work together, and about my Momentum Series events, including my weekend workshop this fall in Walt Disney World at LouMangello.com. Plus, I am very excited to finally share something that literally for years I have been working on. I've been hesitant for a variety of reasons to start creating courses until I knew that I could bring you real value and address some of the challenges I felt some other courses have missed. Today, I am so excited to share and announce my very first course, The Blueprint for Solopreneur Success, which is a 5-day email course. It goes right to your inbox for turning what you love into what you do. And in just 5 days, you'll go from idea to action with a clear, actionable path to launch your solo business. Via the emails and videos, you're going to learn how to transform your passion into profit and turn your hobbies and interests into a viable business. Be launch ready in just 5 days with a step-by-step guide to get you up and running, with daily lessons and workbooks packed with actionable strategies and practical exercises, and really help you ignite your passion, define your value, craft your strategy, form your foundation, and then launch your business with confidence. And because I really want you to take these first steps, and I know how you feel if you're just starting out, because I've been there, it's really important to me not only to make this simple, but affordable. So the 5-day Blueprint for Solopreneur Success email course is just $7. No strings, no gimmicks, no catch, no obligation. I just want to help you start and build momentum. The course opens this Wednesday, June 19th, but you can sign up now and join the wait list by going to LouMangello.com/let's go. I'd love to help you turn what you love into what you do, because that is the gift that you have given to me to let me share my passion for Disney with you. I would not be here if it weren't for you. So I want to try and help you do and feel the exact same way. And if there's ever other ways that I can help you, please reach out. Email me, lou@WDWRadio.com, and I'll help you any way I can. Thank you once again for joining me this week, for being part not just of the community, but my extended family. I hope that you have an amazing day today and even better tomorrow, because every day is an opportunity for you to create your own happily ever after. Choose the good and be the positive light you want to see and share in this world. I love and appreciate you. So until Wednesday night's live show or next week, thanks again. See you.
Hi, this is Mr. Z from Villa Maria Academy in Malvern, Pennsylvania. And Lou just gave a presentation to our freshman class. And I have some of our students here who are going to say what they learned from the presentation.
Hi, I'm Ava, and I learned that you should always put your family before your work. I'm Haley, and I learned that to live a happy life, you should surround yourself with good people. I'm Reese, and I learned that Expedition Everest is 199.5 feet.
I'm Alexis, and I learned that to ride Dumbos in every single park.
I'm Caroline, and I learned that you only ever need one yes. I'm Akina, and I learned to never say no, or never take no as an answer. I'm Anna, and I learned that family should always come first. I'm Becca, and I learned that Mr. Z's favorite ride is Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm Ava, and I learned that you should always follow your dreams. I'm Caroline, and I learned that you should always try and never give up, even if people say no or don't believe in you. I'm Julia, and I learned that Animal Kingdom opened on Earth Day. I'm also Julia, and I learned that Walt Disney got rejected 300 times for a loan.
All right, great job, and thank you so much, Lou Mangello.
Hi, everybody. It's Elizabeth from Massachusetts. It's been a while. Had some family stuff going on, so I'm really getting back into appreciating all of the podcasts. But just finished listening to episode 7 70, and it was all about memorabilia, which, like, what a fun episode to think about all those artifacts. And even being able to have some, that would be crazy. But my favorite piece that I own is a Wilderness Lodge mug, like the ones that you have the chip in them so you can get refills for your stay and stuff. But this is from like 1995 maybe, on my very first family trip. So that will always be super special to me. Hope everyone is having an amazing week, an amazing day, and enjoying the beautiful weather here in Massachusetts today too. Talk to y'all real soon. Bye.